Good morning. A warm welcome to each and every one of you that is here today in our sanctuary, and it is a full sanctuary today, both in spirit and in person. And we welcome those who are joining us as well through our online live stream, and those that will be joining us perhaps at a later time through the recording of this service. It is a powerful thing, and many of you probably know this personally or have observed it. When we lose a loved one and we gather for a time of remembrance, which is always a very bittersweet time, a both-and time, a time of loss and sorrow, but of celebration as well. A powerful thing to walk into a space and to scan across the sea of representative faces and to see the legacy of love and the web of human community in which we are all drawn. You are. And those gathering us online today are that community, and representatives of the broader community gathered here in the spirit that Kate's family scanned across as they entered in today. And I know I express on their behalf, as they surely has expressed to you themselves, that they are most grateful for your presence. We're here to give thanks for Kate Hilbrant's life and a legacy of love and light that we will speak of and testify to through the course of this service. And know that no matter of words, no rich gathering of stories could ever give full testimony to someone's life, but we draw out these representative pixels that we might feel Kate present with us. Surely she already is, dancing in our eyes, our memories, glimmering in the air around us, and quickening in our hearts, even now in our moments of loss. Thank you for your presence this morning. A special word of thanks both to Kate's family, who have shared so deeply with me and with the entire church staff that we might frame a space of remembrance that really honors her and feels like Kate. And also to those who were involved in setting the stage for our sanctuary in this service today, all those on our church staff who have labored with such love behind the scenes. We're grateful for them and the deep intention with which they have done their work. When I was talking to the family in preparation for this service, they said, "Do you think people will think it's weird that we're playing Harry Potter as the prelude? Hedwig's theme?" And they all kind of knew as they were asking the question, the answer is no. Because Kate was Kate. And this is about her, even as it is also about our feelings. And she loved that franchise, that series, and that song just brought her right in on her terms, not ours, but hers, and with an exuberance that said, why wouldn't we have that in church? And I can tell you it's the first time we have. It may not be the last. And it's all good, lest you wonder what I think. At the conclusion of our memorial today, again, so grateful for your presence in person or online, those that are gathered here, or maybe watching online that are able to join the family immediately following the service at Indian Hill Club for a reception in Kate's memory and honor are invited to do that. You'll need to just check the instructions in your bulletin. If you don't have a bulletin because you're online, you need to make sure you enter through the men's locker room and that per their policy, their COVID policy, you're able to show a valid photo ID and then proof of full vaccination. You can do that and then head on in for the time of gathering. At the end of the service, we ask you to remain seated until the family has exited. They will see you there. There'll be no receiving line here, and they do hope that you can join them. If you're not there, you are surely there in the Spirit. Thank you again for the gift, the true gift of your presence. And may we gather now in the spirit of prayer. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. O gracious God, we gather within your eternal embrace to remember Kate Hilbrant. We gather, O God, within the wake of this jolting loss and within the shuddering wash of emotions that Kate's passing evokes in each of us. We gather, dear Lord, because we need you. We need you to come and stand with us and with all who held Kate dear. We gather because we need your lifting love to lessen grief's weight, to ferry us across our troubled waters, and to guide us through this cragged and shadowed valley. Heavy are our hearts, O God, and palpable our sorrow. And yet, beside and within our keen sadness, grant us Kate's signature ability to see the light and to be that light, even in our darkness. May Kate's memory, which lives on, O God, which lives on, and may your undaunted love, O Holy One, find us, fill us, heal us, connect, and yes, even save us, so that laughter might rise, even through our tears. Prayers might rise, even when words fail. And we might know that Kate is forever held in your heavenly embrace and forever woven in the sacred trellis of our joined hearts. Within that woven spirit that is yours, that finds us all, draw in our hearts, our soul, as we now offer the very prayer that Jesus taught us, saying together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. We invite you now to rise as you are able, and if you feel so moved to join in singing our opening hymn, Morning Has Broken.
Please do be seated.
When we think of memorials, we often think of eulogies. And not that long ago, I looked up eulogy. It's defined, as many of you surely know, as a speech that praises someone highly, particularly at a time of loss. Truth be told, I've never heard a eulogy not at a time of loss, but it struck me when I looked it up, as it does now, and I think the family agrees with this, that eulogy, a speech, just feels a little too stiff, a little too formal. And times of remembrance are not about polish or perfection. They are about presence and accompaniment, often raw and vulnerable in its expression and its tone. And so we've chosen the term reflections of love. Those words, those memories, representative as they are, that spring from our hearts and that land within the hearts of those that hear them, often with a nod of a head or an acknowledging laugh, or perhaps a tear. Our first reflections of love this morning in our service for Kate will be offered by 4 of Kate's siblings. They will come forward together to read and reflect from a very personal, and I think we can say a very sacred text. Bridget, Steph, Tommy, and Maddie, will you please now come forward, accompanied by Mike, and as each one of them goes, they're invited to just stay here and be in the group or return to their pew, whatever they want to do. I've learned this family's going to do what it wants to do, and that is a good thing. So will you 4 please come forward now?
Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light.
Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing something.
Those who we love remain with us, in the whisper of the wind, in the soft rain that falls from heaven, in each sunrise, in every single star that lights the night sky, in every single memory we hold within our hearts.
This feels very par for the course to have the youngest do their reading first. I want to start by reading something that Kate shared on Facebook for my birthday in 2016, along with photos and a long excerpt that she had written herself. The definition of a sister is a person who knows you inside and out and still thinks the world of you. That's exactly who Kate was. She loved not only me, but everybody inside and out, no matter how flawed, imperfect, or impatient. Kate took particular interest in each person she was talking to, recalling a shocking amount of detail in that person's life, just so she could make you feel special the next time you talked. She talked fashion and skincare with me, not because she was interested in it, but because she wanted to see me light up in those conversations and knew exactly how to make that happen. She knew me inside and out, and she still thought the world of me. Kate and I were close growing up, and as adults, we only grew closer. We had this beautiful relationship in which there was no big sister. We handed off big sister and little sister duties often without saying it, just showing up for each other, however we needed, whenever we needed. Kate brought a sense of constant safety throughout my life. When I needed a retreat as a child and didn't know where to turn, Kate greeted me with open arms, a huge smile, a warm bed to share, and stories about her day that made us laugh until we cried. When she was having trouble with a bully at school, I found the courage to tell that bully that if she ever messed with my sister again, she would regret it, and shared a few other choice words. Sometimes keeping each other safe meant keeping each other safe from ourselves. Like the time Kate refused to let me use her ID when I was 19 so I could get into the bars. She then lectured me about how we don't break laws, and she called me Maddie Misdemeanor Hilbrant for months. Just a couple weeks ago on Christmas Eve, Kate and I were the first to leave a family party and head back home. Both tired from the night, we came home and sat together, not talking, just comfortable in shared silence. It wasn't until the rest of my family came home and Kate left that I realized she had stayed just for me, just because she wanted me to feel safe and not to be alone. We had done this so many times over the years, been by each other's side without having to ask for it, and that's exactly who Kate was. But we weren't just there for the hard times. We were always each other's biggest cheerleaders. A few years ago, I ran the Chicago Marathon, raising money for Kate's beloved Special Olympics. She met me at mile 22 and cheered so loud that I thought she would go hoarse. When she needed help finding a new job so she could continue to reach for the stars, I worked on her resume, helped her write a cover letter, and helped her prepare for interviews. And I encouraged her when things didn't go her way to just keep going. No one was more proud than I was when she found her job at Mackenzie Elementary School in the fall. She loved that job so much, and they were really lucky to have her. When we were in high school, Kate and I played on the water polo team together. She scored about 90% of the team's goals, and I would marvel at her athletic ability. She'd always remind me that I'd get as good as her one day if I kept practicing. And the truth is, nobody's as good as Kate. Kate was pure, and Kate was selfless, generous, and Kate was good. So we did this dance where we alternated big and little sister, up until now. Kate kept me safe when I needed, and I did the same for her. She'd remind me to stay strong and admired me so dearly, and I did the same for her. In our last conversation just a few days ago, I reminded Kate to look at life with the glass half full and told her it's okay to have bad days because we all have them. Now it's my turn to be her big sister forever, to keep her safe in my heart and move through life remembering how incredible Kate was. Grateful that she led me through it the way that she did. In reflecting on Kate's life, I've thought of 4 lessons that I want to hold with me, and I hope you will too. First, when in doubt, be kind. You never know what someone's going through. Kate led with kindness no matter what. Second, remind those you love just how much they mean to you and just how much you love them. Kate never hesitated to share her love for those around her with the rest of the world. Third, lean into what you love without question, unapologetically, and with your whole heart. Kate never did anything less than 100%, and she had Harry Potter slippers, Harry Potter curtains, everything, bedspread, the whole thing. And lastly, take interest in those around you. Just a few words can change their day. Kate was always interested in those who came into her life, and it created such a special bond between them. I'll close with a quote from one of Kate's favorite characters, Winnie the Pooh. If there ever comes a day when we can't be together, keep me in your heart, and I'll stay there forever. Kate, you're in my heart forever and beyond, and I'm so grateful for the time that we shared.
Thank you, Bridget, Steph, Tommy, and Maddie, for your reflections. I want to confirm, sort of an in the moment, make sure everybody's on the same page, confirmation. The quotations read by Bridget, Steph, and Tommy were from her Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken, and they were all from Harry Potter? Or one of them, okay, one of them. Like if you're a really good trivia person, which is very apropos right now, given what's on TV, you might know which one was. I'm not. But I love the comment that was made by Maddie about how she had Harry Potter everything. When I was visiting with the family, they said, recently we had to put a moratorium on Harry Potter gifts at Christmas time. Kate, no more Harry Potter gifts. I never really got the truth as to whether or not she acknowledged or abided by that, even though she said we're not lawbreakers. On that, I think she might have been. Loving lessons, life lessons that may be clear to us when we're all here together, but they become all the more poignant, all the more incisive in moments of loss as we look through the lens of our tears and absence. Loving people inside and out Sit with that for a second. It's so beautiful. We don't break laws. Police unions across the country are celebrating right now. The sense of accompaniment and mysterious communication that rises in shared silence. And the fact that nobody can talk smack like a sister. Someday you'll be as good as I am if you just practice hard enough. It's like the ultimate throwdown. Our next reflections of love will be offered again in a wave of accompaniment. I invite them all to come forward at the same time and to go in the order in which they have chosen to speak. They'll be offered by Charlie, Justin, and Johnny. Please do come forward to offer your reflections of love.
I'm gonna, in the spirit of honesty, start by showing you how much I'm shaking. Because the gravity of right now is hitting me. So I'm gonna take 3 deep breaths, because I really wanna be here with all of you. And I hope you join me, because Maddie, that was amazing. But I need 3 deep breaths. If you want to join me, I invite you to. Hot mic. I tested negative today. Kate loved police work, no law breaking. And for a short time, I had the privilege of being a police officer, and this really made Kate very happy. And she asked me once a week, can I come do a ride along? Can I do a ride along? Can I do a ride along? And it was department policy that you don't have anybody come do a ride along that's not gonna, taking a criminal justice course or what, not, it was all kind of a PR thing. John, you know how much you love police stuff. So I knew my request would be declined if I said, hey, can my little sister come sit in the police car with me? And it was one of those things where it's like, all right, you have this rule. I think some of my former colleagues are here, so sorry, guys. But I let her just come sit in the car for a little bit. And I knew that there's this way that things work in that industry where the second you think nothing's going to happen is when it happens. And so I was like, all right, Kate, you're going to meet me at the stop sign. I'm sitting there. I'm watching the stop sign. I'm going to let you tell me who to pull over. But my standards are pretty high. Like, I have my coffee here, and they got to really blow through that stop sign, for me to go get them. And she sat down. It was 4 degrees out. And she had a tough criteria she really had to stop at that stop sign. She wanted to get everybody. But she was so alive, and she was watching me, and I could tell she was proud of me, which I can't tell you how that feels, because there aren't words to express it. But eventually somebody came through, and they really blew the stop sign. All right, fine, we'll pull them over. And there was another funny ending to that, but I'll just leave it that having my sister and feeling her be proud of me was really special. Because I dropped the role of being the older brother who's going to be proud of you. The hierarchy was gone, and I felt that truly in my heart. The law-breaking thing made me tell that story. I was actually had a different thing. Let me get to that. I'm still shaking. Kate was on a journey toward being the brightest star that we knew her as, and she went to a place called Pacific Quest in Hawaii years ago. And there she honed her independence, she created new friendships, she cared for animals, she grew vegetables. There was a greenhouse. In that greenhouse, there was a chrysalis, which I learned this week is what I thought a cocoon was. But it's called a chrysalis, and that's what a butterfly comes from, I guess. And during her time there, Kate's duties were to tend to the garden, care for the animals, water the plants, all the things that she did as she was learning more about herself, deeper and deeper and deeper. And eventually, when every day would go by, she would protect the chrysalis. She would watch its progress. It would get bigger, and she would just make sure that it wasn't in the way of the sprayers that were watering the garden. And every day, multiple times, she would take care of it. And eventually, it was time for my mom to go pick her up from Pacific Quest. She had definitely found more of that true light that we know she showed us. I mean, you just look at this picture. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. I can't think of a better example. I don't think much retouching was done here. That's how her eyes looked. I was there when she had left the body. That's how her eyes still looked. My mom went to pick up Kate, and it was time for Kate to say goodbye to all of the things that she had grown there and done at Pacific Quest. And when she brought my mom to show her the chrysalis was empty, and there was a butterfly flying around. It dropped those worldly limits, the feeling of gravity that we feel on our bottoms. If you're sitting here, if you're at home, the limits of your Wi-Fi connection, those things that hold us in. Body gets uncomfortable and we gotta take deep breaths. Kate had to take a lot of deep breaths. She had to work a little harder to make something maybe come out and make sense. But I, along with my family, and along with John, she doesn't have to work hard at all for that light to make sense. So Kate, your chrysalis, it's empty. And we all wish you a beautiful journey. And we will see you. Oh, shit. I really thought I nailed it, you know? Just one this time, not three. A butterfly lights beside us like a sunbeam, and for a brief moment, its glory and beauty belong to our world. But then it flies on again, and although we wish it could have stayed, we are so thankful to have seen it at all. All right, that's really it.
Kate always loved an opportunity to celebrate others, especially on their birthdays. And she was never more excited than to share her own birthday with her twin brother, Johnny. Here's an example of one of Kate's famous birthday posts for her brother in 2014. You only get to say it once a year, but I love saying happy birthday to my twin brother. Thank you for these and many more fun memories we've shared together from our birth to this present day. I love having you as my twin, and thank you for being here with me always. It's amazing how far you've come, and your comedian personality I love, by the way, so keep up the good work. She quotes, "Believe and admire, protect and show, watch and listen, love and know. A brother's love is a sister's greatest treasure. A sister's happiness is a brother's deepest desire. Know that you are loved, my twin bro. Happy birthday."
I'm Johnny, and I am Kate's twin. Growing up with someone who's the same exact age as you is obviously a very unique experience. We took our first steps together, and we spoke our first words around the same time. We graduated 8th grade together and high school together. We were confirmed in this church together. Kate was typically the voice of reason from a very young age. While I have always had an overactive and irrational brain, I can remember Charlie, Kate, and Maddie and I having sleepovers at my grandparents' house when we were little. I would wake up and tell Kate that I was scared because my grandparents' house at night was spooky. Plus, there was a grandfather's clock that struck very loudly every hour that scared me. I don't know why that was a thing ever. She would always remind me that everything was okay and that there was nothing to be worried about or scared of. She let me talk through whatever was bothering me for as long as I needed to in order to fall back to sleep. She was always like that. The things that made Kate unique were not always easy for me to accept. I knew she compared her life to those around her, and all she wanted was to be like everybody else. We always encouraged her to stay in her own lane and to embrace her world, no matter how different it was from anybody else's, from everyone else's. While that took some time, she truly started to celebrate herself and gained a tremendous confidence, specifically in the last 2 years of her life. Watching her blossom into the happiest version of herself that she'd ever been was a beautiful thing for us all. Along with these last 2 happy years came a health kick for Kate. She was exercising and eating well every day. She was very proud of herself, and we were all just as proud. My wedding is coming up in July, and Kate was supposed to be standing up on my side in the wedding. She was one of my groomsmaids. So stupid. We joked about how long she could push off sending her measurements to our dress designer for the big day, because those numbers were getting smaller and smaller. When I came home for Thanksgiving, she took her winter coat off and basically spun around for me, showing off her new, healthier body. She did the same thing just a few weeks ago at Christmas, and had just texted me last week about where she and her boyfriend John should fly into for our wedding. She had a goal, and the goal was to be the healthiest version of herself for the wedding. She wanted to be there, standing by my side, as healthy and as happy as she could possibly be. Not for her or for the sake of vanity, but because she wanted me to be proud of her. I was always proud of her, no matter what, and I always will be. I hope that she knows that. While I can no longer hug Kate, I know that she is with me and with all of us today and always. I am comforted by the many memories that we have from growing up and the photographs and videos that we have of her with that incredible smile and laugh that was second to none. We love you, Kate, and we are so very proud of you.
I think it's catching. Now I need a breath. Or 3. I think that's part of the bittersweet power of memorials, is that they strike us at our core and they make us feel the truth of what life is again. And it can be hard, but it is lifting to know we are alive and we draw breath, and that even when loved ones pass on, even when they are no longer physically with us, as much as we would so keenly want them to be, that we can still speak to them. Not vainly like whispering in the wind. That is not God's reassurance to us, but rather in a way where they can hear us. Not in the same way perhaps as before, but just as deeply, just as knowingly, and even more miraculously and inexplicably, but just as true. They can still speak to us in glimmering and glimpsing ways, in fleeting thoughts and moments, and the movement of a cloud and the landing of a butterfly on a flower, and a memory that rises up, and a movie that we watched with Kate 100 times, and something that we don't even know why it reminded us of them or of Kate in particular. In those moments, there's not just an activation of what we remember. There is the Spirit of the One with us, saying, I did not go anywhere. And we are still together. The power of sibling testimony and a fiance testimony to speak to that. And surely John would hold those same thoughts in his heart, as well as her beloved Beau, who was so brightly apart and so much a reason why these recent years were her post-chrysalis years. Will you please rise as you are able, and now with even deeper meaning, join in singing Child of Blessing, Child of Promise. Please do be seated. As we have heard again today, and anyone that knew Kate surely knew she loved butterflies. And I may be breaking a commandment by the family in what I'm about to say. They're all sitting on the edge of their pews right now. I may be breaking a little bit of a law, but Kate would bless me in doing it. It is rumored, I repeat, rumored she had a butterfly tattoo. Now, you're all laughing in part because you probably know Kate's grandmother, Susie Gio, would not have liked that. And in fact, truth be told, my ear is burning a little right now as I say that. Susie is laid to rest just outside this wall in the churchyard. And I know that the next time I'm in the churchyard, she's going to say, "Psst, yeah, over here." So, of course, to save myself, perhaps, I can neither confirm nor deny such a rumor about said tattoo. We know it was there. We can at least allude to it subtly in our mind's eye. And in the reading I'm about to offer is chosen by the family, a reading from the prophet Isaiah. And if you want poetry, look there. If you want reassurance, look there, as much as any sacred text that ever has been written. Isaiah speaks of eagles, with eagles' wings, soaring, powerful, amazing creature that can soar so high, and yet I think we can allude to in our mind's eye the wings of butterflies, and we'll insert that into this sacred text. And I think Isaiah would approve, not just Kate. Hear now these words from the prophet Isaiah, as chosen lovingly by Kate's family. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. God does not grow faint or grow weary. God's understanding is unsearchable. God gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary. Even the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles, like butterflies. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. The word of the Lord. Susie, would you come forward and offer your reflection of love?
Good morning. I wasn't sure. I had a little bit of a writer's block. 6 years ago, Jeff conducted the service when we sent my mom off. And I had my remarks scripted and ready to go. And I looked at Jeff when we met and I said, I'm thinking maybe I might off-road a little bit. And Jeff looked at me with this alternate pastoral gaze and complete fear. And he said, well, you want to get up there and be able to. And so I heeded his words, and bear with me, but I'm going to, I decided the best thing for me was to write a letter to Kate. So I invite you to listen, and I'm grateful that you will. My dear Kate, my heart has been so heavy, so very heavy. For the past few days, I have been working hard to be able to accept that you are gone. That early morning call, one that no parent ever wants to receive, but one that too many have, began this week's journey into the unthinkable, life without my Kate. To my earthly vision, at least. There is such a void without our once every couple of day phone calls already, so I thought I would write down a few things I wanted to say to you in a letter. First of all, sweetie, you would be so amazed at the caring, kind people who have wrapped their arms not only around me, but around all of us. Kate, our house has been filled with family, friends, flowers, and food. Exactly as a good friend and mom who knew you so well told me would happen. People have selflessly opened their hearts and cleared their schedules to scoop up, cradle, and protect each of us as we move into this new reality. This family locked arms and became a Class A, smooth-running, completely chaotic operation. I actually had to smile when I thought about what you would say if you could see that living chaos here. the house alternately looking like a restaurant and a flower shop, your nephews zigging and zagging, cruising and crashing, a 9-week-old puppy not to be denied her own attention, all prompting calls of watch your foods, watch your food, pick up your drinks. I know all of us would love to hear your observations of the whole scene, given your literal, direct, unfiltered assessment of almost everything. I don't know how or where to begin to express our gratitude to all of these earthly angels. But the funny thing is, Kate, no one expects that. This community repeatedly grounds us and encircles us. Empathy born of each person's unique experience and perhaps loss prompts them to pull in the driveway, knock on the door, and say, I'm here, and I will be here. Kate, I've been drawn back to the first inkling you were going to be you. The ultrasound, whereupon hearing that I was pregnant with not one but 2 babies, prompted your father to remove a pen from his pocket to draw a circle on the ultrasound machine to make certain we had heard the technician correctly. Your desire to introduce yourself and be part of this world was enough that you made certain that you would arrive first by firmly positioning your brother and womb mate as far up into my rib cage as you could. While you had an amazing inner strength from the get-go, it was hard for you to access it. And your journey, our journey at times, was a difficult navigation of dealing with the potholes of epilepsy, some learning differences, self-doubt, frustration, and at the core, you wanting to matter. And you know what, Kate? We, your family, needed to journey as well. As a little girl, you loved school. You adored and revered your teachers, a group of people for whom mere words of gratitude from me will never suffice. And I don't know if any of you are here. I just off-roaded. I don't know if any of you are here, but you believed in her. You loved the beach. You loved your pets. You loved and further identified mightily with butterflies. You loved Harry Potter, anything Harry Potter, to the point where we might have, as you've already heard, had a slight moratorium on Harry Potter Christmas gifts. You loved anything athletic. As you grew, athletics leveled the playing ground for you. Your prowess on a basketball court, tennis court, and most certainly in later years, water polo, gave you a milieu in which to excel, be one of the group, and to belong, to matter. You loved, loved, loved your family. Your jobs kept you in these interconnected communities where so many people were touched by your smile, engaging spirit, and light. The same people times 100 who are wrapped around us here right now. These people often saw you for who you were, but not how you were able to see yourself. They inadvertently carried you, Kate, included you, reached into your smile, and every time that blessed interchange occurred, whether a brief exchange in the market, a glowing recommendation for a job, a conversation with an old classmate who genuinely wanted to hear about you, you rose up a little, started to look at yourself differently, dared to believe a little more in who you were, what you could do, less about who you weren't. I saw it. We saw it. It was new to us, my dear Kate. I think to a degree, a feeling of, can this really be? As your mom, and with a nod to my early reference to our journey as your family, I had to look back to see if I had been as good at leaning in all those years. My takeaway, sweet Mudge, was that we, your family, were ground zero. We didn't realize it then. We didn't realize it then, but the community that was leaning in with their gentle acceptances of your journey was also leaning in with grace to and for us, because we were on our own Kate journey. Our conversations over the last few months in particular were so uplifting. In one conversation, Tom mentioned how proud he was of the initiative that you had undertaken. Your response to him was, "I'm proud of myself, Tom." We looked at each other and exhaled with joy. Kate, every parent wants that for their child, to have that inner celebratory piece. Maybe yours took a little longer, maybe it didn't. It was just your journey. A couple of last things, because I can see you doing the Kate eye roll, and saying, "Okay, Mom, this is really enough." I would much rather be able to take you by the shoulders and look you in the eyes, as I was wont to do, so often trying to transfer my belief in you to you. I didn't need to do that anymore, but I do need to tell you with enthusiasm, love, and admiration that I shine with pride for the young woman who found her voice, for the young woman who learned not only to celebrate who she was, but to wear it on her sleeve, darn it. For the young woman with the most incredible, infectious, hysterical laugh. For the young woman who absolutely treasured her family, who looked up to her big brother, looked up to her little sister, coveted and protected that special twin bond, and created a special place in her heart that was all hers for TB&S. For the young woman who had found her own unique, beautiful rhythm in this crazy, amazing family and celebrated everyone's milestones joyously. For the young woman who was probably her twin brother's worst audience for his comedic acumen, as some would call it, and could finally bask in his light while holding on to hers. For the young woman who worked so hard and grew to understand and be grateful for the circle that was Team Kate, of professionals that guided, nudged, and pushed her to identify and reach her goals, and me out of the way. For the teacher in her, her love of children while fully accepting that she would not have her own, her desire to work and continue her education to help children that she saw a little of herself in. For the young woman who had found love of the most gentle and authentic kind. Where the same language was spoken, and exuberant love of sports, Disney, Harry Potter, that same Harry, and adventure. John, you opened her heart, and ours even a little further. My Mama Bear makeup was centered around my desire to see my children flourish, embrace joy, operate from their core principle of how they act, interact, and react, and to get to their next and best level. The joy and pain, quite excruciating at this moment, is that you did ascend to that level. Dear Kate, you had exited your chrysalis and you were soaring. I just needed a little more. It is an honor to speak on behalf of and represent my beautiful daughter, though ironic, because make no mistake, she found her voice, and each of you, most especially your brothers and sisters, all of them had a part in that. I would like to close with a little prayer that my mom kept. If anybody knew my mom, these were everywhere. And it seems appropriate. We pray for courage to sing in the midst of troubles, to hope in the midst of doubts, and to light candles in the midst of darkness. And so may we remember that those who love one another never meet for the last time. I love you, my girl, but more importantly, you loved yourself.
Amen. Our memorial prayer is a time when it is our hope that it is a time when all that has been shared out loud and stirred within the sacred text of our hearts can be drawn into a coherent fabric. And we can feel woven with one another, no less, and with Kate. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. O gracious God, to each of us who walk this earth, you grant the gift of life. It is a gift so precious that even all the prophets and poets, all the scientists and stargazers across the teeming centuries cannot but gloss its worth, cannot but vaguely plumb its fathoms. That you give to us, O God, so freely, so singular and heavenly a gift serves only to remind us, especially in times of loss, of how much you love us, and how much you know and cherish each and every one of us without exception. The gift of life springs from light, your light, O God. The light from which all things, all goodness, all truth, all love, all anything that matters, all meaning beams and flows and rises. It is this light, this God light, both within and between us, that you call us to seek, to see, to celebrate, to sing of, to laugh in, and to live by. Such is the sacred call of human community. And such was the blessing of Kate to us, of Kate's community to her, and of Kate, as her mother testified, on behalf of the whole family, of Kate to herself. Dear Lord, it must be said, and with bitterness on our tongue, Kate is gone too soon, too soon. And her sudden death cuts us to our core. None more than her family and closest loved ones, including her beloved John. Our sense of loss clots our hearts, blurs our vision, rewrites our future, and yet through the mystery of your Spirit, through Christ's chrysalis power, our grief also forms an unlikely, even surprising lens, both clear and true and literal and unyielding, like Kate. A lens through which the light of life, Kate's life, and through her all life strikes us, even now and in all our days to come. And so we give you thanks, O Holy One, for all the gifts we received in and with and through Kate, many of which we've given testimony to today. But perhaps most of all, we give you thanks for reminding us of the power and, yes, of the sacred duty to live in a way that supports those around us, that sees their godlight, and that helps them to see in themselves how immeasurably precious they are. This Kate's community did for her. This Kate did for all she met. And for this and so much more, we, gathered here and in your spirit, are grateful beyond words. Amen. Please rise as you feel so called and join in singing our closing hymn, "In the Bulb There Is a Flower." Please do be seated. Once again, on behalf of Kate's family, and we include you, John, in that family as well, know that you are not excluded from that. You are included in that, woven in. We give you thanks for your presence, the availability and vulnerability of your hearts, and for the light of your memories. We hope that you will join the family as you are able, even if only for a brief while, at Indian Hill Club for a reception where more stories, more remembrances can flow, some of them probably having to do with Harry Potter and butterflies. And so we do hope you might go. There again, you enter through the men's locker room and need to show ID and proof of vaccination. Thank you again for your presence here this morning on behalf of the family and for all the reach in to them and the reach out from you through which you have supported them in these recent days and certainly in the days to come. We invite you to remain seated, if you would please, until the family has fully exited the sanctuary, and then invite you to exit as you are able through the outer doors, and certainly restrooms over to the right here and downstairs if you need them. And now a benediction, the sending word in the spirit of the Word, capital W, in which we have been woven through this service and through our whole life. Having remembered and celebrated Kate's life and legacy, having steeped in memories evocative well, and having communed not only in God's eternal spirit, but in Kate's spirit, go forth to love and to serve, to live with kindness, to seek God's light both in others and in yourself, so that we might reach in, reach out, and rise up together. And in so doing, that we might forever feel, not just remember, but feel Kate present. Amen.